Oh, the Democrats thought that the Epstein Files were finally going to take down Donald Trump, but it seems like President Trump has been playing 4D chess all along, perhaps, because now that the files are coming out, it's taking down multiple Democrats, and they are in full-blown damage control mode.
And I got a text from Jeffrey Epstein, who at the time was my constituent who was sharing information with me.
And then you have Bill Clinton's BFF, Larry Summers.
Some of you will have seen my statement of regret, expressing my shame with respect to what I did in communication with Mr. Epstein.
Trying to get ahead of it. He's literally the Homer Simpson meme, like, oh, goodness, I'm taking a leave of absence. Oh, but by the way, it just gets worse, so strap in. Welcome back to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications. Smash the like button and comment. Let us know what you think. It'll help us out in the algorithm, which we all know is stacked against us. So releasing the Epstein Files may go down as one of the, greatest political maneuvers of our lifetime, not from the Democrats, but from President Trump, because we've heard the back and forth and it hasn't made sense, right? Like, I'm watching this play out, and I'm watching before the election, President Trump takes a strong stance on transparency with regard to Jeffrey Epstein and all of the files and all of the terrible people who were associated with him and abusing young girls at his island. And so he's like, yes, we should be transparent. And then he gets in office, and we all saw how the narrative changed when he got into office. And it was very perplexing at the time. It was very like, what do you mean it's a Democrat hoax? What do you mean there's no file? What do you mean, Pam Bondi? You just said all the files were on your desk and you were about to release them. And then it became like, remember the binders? And then all of a sudden it was like, what files? Turns out there's no files. And so it was very strange. And now in hindsight, you have to wonder, maybe this was the whole play. Maybe this was some sort of 4D chess that President Trump was playing, because the Democrats knew they had to take the opposite stance of Donald Trump. Donald Trump says there's no files. Release the files. Release the files. And then they're like, we can redact it so it looks like we got him. Except now it's spectacularly backfiring on them, because they couldn't predict with their Trump derangement syndrome riddled brains. They're already starting off bad. They've already got the tiny little pea brains to begin with. And so once you add TDS to the pea brain, it becomes so unusable. They didn't realize they were just going to fall into a trap of implicating themselves, which is where Representative Stacey Plaskett enters the conversation. She's a Democrat from the U.S. Virgin Islands. And for reference, that is where Epstein Island was. Okay. She assumed office in 2015. And by the way, shocker, she's very anti-Trump. She actually served as an impeachment manager during his second impeachment. I know it's hard to keep track of which. So the second one, she was an impeachment manager. Well, she also apparently was a pretty good friend of Jeffrey Epstein's, because when the last batch of documents came out, the Washington Post, of all places, noticed that she and Epstein were like good texting buddies. Like they were texting all the time. In fact, they were texting in the middle of congressional hearings, and he ended up coaching her on how to get dirt on President Trump during a hearing of Michael Cohen's testimony. And so I want to show you the Washington Post timed out when she was on camera texting and emailing, and what was being said between her, Stacey Plaskett, and Jeffrey Epstein.
Obama, President of the United States. And while we were once driving through a struggling neighborhood in Chicago, he commented,
she says, not anymore,
that only black people could live that way.
Michael Cohen's talking. She's just texting Jeffrey Epstein.
Yes,
From Jeffrey Epstein, Cohen brought up Rona, keeper of the secrets.
Even today, in a written submission that contradicted your testimony.
She says
you
Rona?
Suggested you were going to review that. Did you review? Are you going to review it in our next break to correct the record? Yes or no?
Yes.
Quick, I'm up next.
Question,
Is that an acronym?
Campaign,
she's like, what? What's Rona? Who's Rona?
Representatives,
what are you talking about?
Even
Hurry
in
up.
your words today, it was your
Jeffrey
idea
Epstein
for
says
the
that's his
campaign dating
assistant.
back to 2011. Is that accurate? Yes or no?
Yes.
Now you'll notice.
Mr. Weisenberg and other individuals, Ms. Rona. Who are those individuals? Are they with the Trump organization?
They
and
are.
There other people that we should be meeting with?
So Alan Weisselberg is the chief financial officer.
You got to quickly give us as many names as you can so we can get to them.
Yes, ma'am.
Is Ms. Rona, what is Ms. Rona's position?
Rona Graff is Mr. Trump's executive assistant.
And would she be able to corroborate many of the statements that you've made here?
Yes, her office is directly next to his.
Good work, he says.
She's involved in
Good little
a lot,
lapdog. Good
that
work.
went on.
Good work, Stace. Good work. And so you see, which, by the way, the irony is not lost on me that they kept trying to get Trump with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, it turns out Jeffrey Epstein at every direction hates his guts. Like, he hates Donald Trump. So the idea that they were best buds and things were he clearly hates Donald Trump. He's trying to help Stacey Plaskett in an impeachment hearing for Donald Trump. Okay. Now, of course, this was released and Democrats would say Republicans pounced on Stacey Plaskett texting her BFF Jeffrey Epstein because of course. And so Stacey Plaskett had to give some sort of defense. And here's how she tried to defend that.
And I got a text from Jeffrey Epstein, who at the time was my constituent, who was not public knowledge at that time that he was under federal investigation.
Okay.
And who was sharing information with me.
And I don't know what to say next. You know, it's interesting, Stace. It's interesting. I don't think many random constituents just have their congressperson's phone numbers. I don't think that, many constituents have their own island. I don't think this was just a case of I was just working for my constituents and I just give everyone my phone number. They all have it. I would like to know how many other constituents of Stacey Plaskett's have her personal cell phone number or her personal email address or her email address. I mean, you get my point, right? That's not it's just a random constituent. It just happened to be a constituent helping me. And for the record, I had no idea he was under federal investigation. Okay, cool. So the 2019 case wasn't public, but he still had a child prostitution case that was completely known about. This was a thing that was well documented. 2008, the New York Times headline, financier starts sentence in prostitution case. We all knew in 2019 that Jeffrey Epstein was a bad guy. By the way, square what she just said on the House floor with what she said to CNN, that apparently Stacey can't keep her story straight because then she did admit that she knew about his child sex convictions.
I believe that Jeffrey Epstein had information and I was going to get information to get at the truth. If individuals are not involved in illegal activity, extending his criminal enterprise or his financial enterprise or all of those things, I think that we need to look at what people are doing moving forward.
Wait, let me just better understand that. What is that point? Because at the time he was a known sex offender and it had been detailed all the sexual abuse.
There are a lot of people who have done a lot of crimes. And as a prosecutor, you get information from people where you can.
Oh, there are a lot of people who have done a lot of crimes, but I'm more interested on who they are moving forward, which is so crazy from someone who is within a party that has literally been screaming for the last several months that Donald Trump must have been on Sex Island with Jeffrey Epstein because he had a picture taken. There was a picture taken with them together many, many years ago. He must be guilty of child sex trafficking. We are supposed to believe simultaneously that anyone whoever associated with Jeffrey Epstein is definitely the devil, except Stacey Plaskett, I guess. I don't know. I can't keep this straight. So you hope, right, that they keep the same energy. Where is that energy? Where is that energy when we're talking about Stacey Plaskett, who's BFFs with Jeffrey Epstein, texting him for help on? This is a this is a predator, a bad person. So let's see what kind of outrage Jamie Raskin had on Stacey Plaskett.
Well, they want to give them another headline, which is that they've arraigned a Democratic member for taking a phone call from her constituent, Jeffrey Epstein, in the middle of a hearing. And of course, I don't think there's any rule here against taking phone calls in a hearing.
What? There's rules against taking a phone call during a hearing? I mean, Jeffrey, he was just a really important constituent. That is really the lane that they are taking. That is really the lane that they're going on. But Donald Trump was at a party with Jeffrey Epstein once, and there is video of them, Donald Trump making a joke to Jeffrey Epstein, therefore he's a criminal. Do they realize how retarded they sound? Now, okay, Jamie Raskin, total doofus, won't take a stand. That's fine. Let's look at their party's major leader, Hakeem Jeffries. What is his stance? Surely there is anyone within the Democrat Party who actually has an objective stance on whether or not it is bad or good to be associated with Jeffrey Epstein after we knew that he was a total creep. Let's see what Hakeem had to say.
She was arguing her texts with Jeffrey Epstein were not illegal, but in your view, were they appropriate?
Well, Stacey Plaskett is not accused of violating any House rule, any law, any statute, and she's clearly and unequivocally denounced Jeffrey Epstein. And I think what the survivors fought for today.
But do you think it was appropriate for her to be texting with Jeffrey Epstein 11 years after he pleaded guilty?
I mean, I have not had a conversation with Stacey Plaskett to discuss this issue because we've been focused today on making sure that there was a decisive vote.
Do you plan to talk to her about it?
I think that we successfully defeated a resolution that lacked any basis, was not credible.
Yeah, I was just asking if you personally believe messaging with JeffreyEpstein, who is at that point a registered sex offender,
Dude, you've lost
is
CNN.
appropriate
Dude,
for a
you're
member
screwed.
of the House Democratic Caucus.
That's the third time you've asked me this question, and I'm going to give you the same exact answer. Our focus today is on making sure that the Jeffrey Epstein files were released. If you want to have a conversation with Stacey Plaskett about it, I'm sure she'd be willing to talk to you. It was an illegitimate effort to try to remove her from the House Committee on Intelligence.
These people have absolutely no morals and no standards, and they try to hold them against you, but they don't hold them themselves. I mean, that's what's so disgusting about this. They want to use this as a reason to, moving into the midterms, secure some sort of, majority, and then launch another impeachment of Donald Trump. And they have none of these standards for themselves because they all knew that they were, in fact, the ones in bed with Jeffrey Epstein. Maybe literally. I don't know. But there was an actual motion, as he referred to censor Stacey Plaskett. And could you guess how many Democrats voted to censure her? 0. 0 Democrats voted to censure Stacey Plaskett for being BFFs with Jeffrey Epstein after she knew that he was a sex predator of children. So I don't want to hear anything else from the Democrats on how aghast they are or how outraged they are and how shocking it is. And shut up. You don't care about predators. You don't care about sex trafficking. We saw it in your border policy for 4 years before Donald Trump got back into office, where your administration allowed one of the greatest sex trafficking scandals of all time to take place, lining the pocketbooks of coyotes and cartels. Like, get out of here with your faux moral outrage. Now, I'm not done because more Democrats, as I mentioned, there are more Democrat ties to Epstein that are coming out, including the man you just saw there, very uncomfortable with answering the question on whether or not it was appropriate for Stacey Plaskett to be texting with Jeffrey Epstein. Hakeem Jeffries, you have some explaining to do.
Another email shows Democrat fundraisers invited Epstein to an event or to meet privately with Hakeem Jeffries as part of their 2013 effort to win a majority. So Hakeem Jeffries' campaign solicited money from Jeffrey Epstein. That's what we found in the last document batch.
Why are you soliciting money from sex predators of children? Here's that email, subject line, Rising Star. We are thrilled to announce, dear Jeffrey, we are thrilled to announce that we are working with Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, one of the rising stars in the New York congressional delegation, sometimes referred to as Brooklyn's Barack. Shoot us an email or give us a call if you would like to get involved with the dinner or would like to get an opportunity to get to know Hakeem better. Ooh, that's embarrassing for Hakeem. I mean, they called him Brooklyn's Barack, and that's embarrassing. Also, the fact that he was groveling for support, financial support from a convicted child predator. Like, these are bad people. And I'm not going to tolerate any longer them pretending like they care about who was associated with Jeffrey Epstein. We already knew they didn't care when you had them trying to tie Epstein to Trump. And then you had Bill Clinton out there 1 billion times riding on Lolita's Express, whatever the hell it's called. Okay. And they never cared then. But now all of a sudden they really care who was ever associated with Jeffrey Epstein, who ever showed up at the same party with Jeffrey Epstein. Like, shut up. You also, by the way, speaking of Bill Clinton, one of his besties, Larry Summers, is like, I think, panicking over all of these files coming out. He sees the writing on the wall and he's trying to get ahead of it. He said the former Treasury Secretary resigned from OpenAI's board, stepping away from the public. Larry Summers resigns from OpenAI board as scrutiny over Jeffrey Epstein emails intensifies. He already knows what's coming. He's getting ahead of it. He's going to go into hiding. And he is trying to get ahead of it with his Harvard class. Here's how he addressed them.
Some of you will have seen my statement of regret, expressing my shame.
Regret, shame.
With respect to what I did in communication.
With respect to what you did. Oh.
And that I've said that I'm going to step back from public activities.
What did you do, sir? I thought it was Donald Trump that was going to be, game over for him with all of these files. Well, now you're resigning? Oh, okay. Well, maybe this was just a game of 4D chess orchestrated by Donald Trump. Maybe this was like Donald Trump. Jeffrey Epstein hated him. It only makes sense that Trump may have had a part in turning Jeffrey Epstein into law enforcement. There's no evidence that he ever did anything wrong. The victims, the people who have spoken out publicly have all said, including their attorneys, have all said there is absolutely no evidence that Donald Trump did anything wrong. In fact, he was one of the people who coordinated with them so beautifully, who gave them all of the information that they needed, who they didn't have to subpoena. He willingly came in and said, yeah, let's get this guy. He's a bad guy. He banned him from Mar-a-Lago. Like, this was stupid. This was the Democrats being so retarded that they're so blinded by their TDS, they didn't realize they were just going to implicate themselves. And I personally love to see it. If you like this clip and you want to see the full episode, click here. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, come on, you know you do. Click here.